Good afternoon, everyone. I will be baking an apple pie today. I'm going to start off with making my own crust. Now, my crust in 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, a half a teaspoon of salt. This is my 9-inch pie pan, which is glass. I'm also going to be using a food process to process the flour, the sugar, the salt. I'm going to be using 1 cup of cold butter, which is diced. It's maybe good to use unsalted butter, but I like salted butter. And the only butter I use is Land of Lakes. And including that, I will be adding 1/4 cup of ice water. So I'm going to get to mixing and I'll be back. Okay, I'm starting on my crust. I didn't already put the flour, the sugar, and the salt inside of the food process, which I'm only going to process it, just pulse it just a couple times. Just to get the sugar and the flour mixed up. And I also added the salt. Now after this step, I'll be adding the cold butter that's cubed. And after that, I'll be doing the water. And then I'll be making the crust. Okay. Okay, this is how the dough looks before adding your water. Now that I have to put it in the food processor. See, it looks like it's gritty, but it's really not. It's really soft from the cold butter. And that's after adding the butter. Okay. Now my next step is to drizzle ice water over it. And then I will form a crust. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, after adding the ice water, you can see I formed a crust. So now I'll be rolling this dough out, wrapping it in some plastic and putting it in the fridge until I do my apples. Now I'm pretty much done with my crust. Which you can see I rolled it out. I'm going to fold it, wrap it in plastic, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge for maybe about 30 to 45 minutes while I'm prepping my apples. Now that I have formed my dough, I'm going to put it in saran wrap and refrigerate it for about 30 to 45 minutes. Let it get cold while I'm prepping my apples. Okay. Okay, I'm about to start with my filling, which I'm using Fuji apples. I didn't already start cutting them. Next, I'll be dicing them up. This is my last apple. You use a 3-pound bag of apples you choose, but I choose Fuji because they are kind of sweet. I'll be back. Okay, now I'm cutting my apples up, and as you can see, turn this around. I turn this around so you can see how I cut my apples. Okay. So after I cut them up, they already been washed. They already been peeled. So now I'm going to finish cutting them up, and then we get right into the cooking of the apples. Okay. Now I'm going to start with doing my apples, which I diced them all up. I'm going to juice a half of a lemon. So you want 1/4 cup of fresh lemon juice. And then I also have some zest that's going to go into the baking of the apples. So once you're done with your lemon juice, you see there's no seeds. You pour it into your apples, which I'm pouring into the apples. Now I got to get my hands dirty. So you toss that around, make sure your hands clean. But you toss that around. Okay? To get the lemon juice in there. Once you finish with that, you're going to add 2/3 cups of sugar, and then you're going to toss again, and then I'll be going to the oven. Okay, I know it looks like a lot of sugar, but that's 2/3 cups of sugar that I added. I know I said I was going straight to the oven, but I'm going to have to give this another toss. Toss the sugar around real good with your lemon juice. It's all right. Your hands will be nice and gritty. And just make sure they're clean. A couple of more tosses. Then I'm going to the skillet. All right, now I'm gonna start on my apples. I'm gonna use 1/4 cup of butter. I'm gonna put that in the skillet and put my fire on medium high. As you can see, it's on medium high. As you can see, the butter is melting pretty hot. Got me burning myself. Now I'm going to add the apples. And you see the juice? That juice is going to turn into like a light brown color, but you got all your sugar, your, you got your sugar and your lemon juice, your fresh lemon juice in here. So, you stir it around just a little bit for maybe about 1 or 2 minutes on medium high. Then, while that's cooking on medium high for about 1 or 2 minutes, I'm going to keep my fire on medium high. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn it up a little more. But once my juice comes into a boil, that's when I'm going to add my cinnamon, which you need. 1 second. I took my cinnamon and nutmeg, and I also did an apple pie spice. I got it all mixed up. So I have a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of apple pie spice. So you blend it all in. Keep it on medium high till once you get it all mixed together. Because I need a top to go to this pan for me. Now that lemon that I zest, I'm going to add that to this now. Sit it down. And you get that all blended in. And I'm going to let this cook for about 7 minutes, but now I'm going to turn it down to medium low, and I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to let it cook. So what you're looking for is your juice caramelized. As you can see, it's caramelizing. So I'm going to need it to thicken up a little bit. So when I come back in 5 minutes, we're going to then add some cornstarch. Now you turn your fire down to medium low, and you let it sit there for 5 minutes. Don't forget to cover it up. Okay. It's been about 4 minutes now. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to stir these pies up. Look at that. It looks really good. And it smells good too. Now, I got about 2 more minutes. No, about 1 more minute. Letting it simmer, and I'll come back and add the cornstarch. All right, we had our final minutes, and I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. That's just my timer going off. Don't worry about the cornstarch being lumpy. It'll come right out once you mix it in. So if you see any lumps of cornstarch, it's nothing to worry about. They just blend in with the rest. Now my apples are nice and soft, but not too soft. And one last thing that I'm gonna add is gonna be a 1/2 teaspoon of apple crown. Make the taste even better. So I'm gonna let this simmer for 1 minute while I go and start getting my crust ready for my pie to go into the oven. Going to start cutting the top layer of the pie. You think I should start here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Which I'm using a pizza cutter.
You don't have to.
I have no idea to what or whom you are referring.
What about the other one? What's his name?
Why you shaking?
I don't know. Okay, I'll be back. My hand is shaking. All right, now I am done covering my pie. So now I gotta do an egg wash. Now the end of these strips can be cut and just pinched off. Okay. Just pinch them off and pinch them to the pan. It just makes it look better. That's all. It's just extra. And I'll be back. So, I'm done with that. I set my oven to 400 instead of 350. I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon of whipping cream and 1 egg. I'm going to whip this up so I can wash the top of my crust. I'll be back. All right, I'm done with the egg wash. Trying to egg wash my crust. You see how shining and glycerin it is. So now I'm taking a 1/4 cup of sugar and a teaspoon of cinnamon, and I mixed it together, okay, as you can see. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sprinkle it over the pie. It's up to you how thick you want it, but I like for the pie to look brown, you know, have the cinnamon look to it.
We hold on to our family. No matter what.
As you can see, as soon as it touches the butter, it's kind of melting. So you just add a little more. It's not a whole lot of sugar. But they kind of just give it a little color to it. And even it out. Okay. Now I'm going to get some aluminum foil and get ready to put my pie in the oven. So you put it on 400 degrees for about 30 minutes. You're not trying to cook the pie, the apples. The apples are already cooked. You're mainly cooking your crust. So I'll be back. Okay, I took some aluminum foil and took it around the pan to protect the crust so it don't burn the edges. Okay, I got it on a flat pan,
Oh, that is.
but just get some aluminum foil, fold it in half, but make sure it's long enough to wrap around the whole pie. And you'll see here. All right, I'm putting it in the oven on 400 degrees for 30 minutes. I'm gonna check on it, but it takes almost an hour for this pie to cook. And using this foil protects it from browning really, really fast. Okay. All right, oven it goes. I'll check back on it in 30 minutes. Okay, so my pie been cooking about 30 minutes now. As you, it's kind of browning, but it's not as brown as I want it to be. But I'm still protecting the crust with the aluminum foil. But you want it like a crispy brown. So I'm gonna give it additional 20 minutes. I'm gonna keep it on 400, and I'll be back. Okay, I done finally cut my pie. It came out pretty good. Okay, this is what I cut, and this is how it looks. So I baked my own crust. And in fact, I made my own crust by scratch. Rolled it up, dough'd it up, this bottom and top. It looks really good. Tastes good too. All right,